So, thank you everyone. ありがとうございます。So, 皆さん、こんにちは。私は Hansen さん。I'm very proud and very honored to first time speak in Japan, especially in Tokyo. So today I'm going to talk about change and constant and change. And this is actually kind of a mindset I was thinking about and through these 10 years of working. I think everyone is overwhelming by Gen AI, probably these 2 years. You see, oh, there's a new app coming. There's somebody create an app by AI. Am I going to? There's a lot of panic or a lot of thinking on that. But past through these 10 years, I also try to think about what is the role for designers in AI. So before I have the talk, I want to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm the principal designer at AI Acceleration Studio at Microsoft. So our studio work with global client to create generative AI solution. So today I'm going to talk about AI UX, but I'm not officially represent Microsoft here to show the product or sell the product. But in my talk, I will use some Microsoft work to show as an example to enhance my talk. So I forget to actually introduce myself. In my early career, actually I was an architect before I actually went to America to study. And this is like a 19th century. So imagine you were a designer in 19th centuries. Left side is your daily job. You draw the floor plan, and then all the structure is like a wall support. So the second floor will look exactly like the first floor. And most of your time, you spend a lot of time to use this design system and then try to make a lot of beautiful interior. Does this sound familiar? And then on the other side, if you look at, wow, there's the Eiffel Tower. It can build like a more than 30 floors high. And you look at this new change, you feel very confused. Is it an architecture? But you also be amazed by this power of engineer, this new materials make the things. I feel that very interestingly, it's very similar to our time. But what happened after this? So on the left side, my right side, actually, this gentleman is called Le Corbusier. So he's the father of modern architecture. On the right side, there are 5 rules of modern architecture. Actually, when Le Corbusier really combine what is constant, which means that user needs as a living space, and the new technology at that time of steel construction, and they start to create a new 5 principle. For example, the fourth one, if you today you look at the windows, they are all horizontal because the column support the structure. The wall is free, so we can create free facade of outside of your building. Also, the first one, because it is all supported by the column, so you can feel free to modify your floor plan. So actually, until this time, the real modern architecture was born, and the 2 principles actually come together. So to me, through these 10 years of AI working, I was trying to think about maybe it's a good way for people to think about what is not change. And then you can start to understand what is change. One of the good examples is that I really love when Jeff Bezos, he was talking about like, no matter how AI or technology change, if you order something online, you don't want to get slower, right? You don't want to pay more for your product, right? You want it to be cheaper. You want it to be here in the afternoon, maybe not even tomorrow. So I think it's very important when we think about this, our design role, or maybe not even design role, everybody's role in this AI trend. What is constant, which means what is not change, and what is change? And I think by thinking in this 2 extreme, you can gradually find the possibility. I will talk a little very interesting things about this because if you think about AI's history, the first AI tried to kind of is binary, right? To say, okay, this is yes or no. And then later in the machine learning, we start to find a lot of possibility in between 1 and 0. So it seems like very interesting, similar. So this sounds like a very abstract concept. Let me bring some solid example. So let me introduce the mindset of constant and change. So if there are some intelligent designer or UX designer here, this probably is something, at least in my time, we learn, right? There's a user, there's a system. And the intelligent design is user give an input to the computer system, and the computer system give an output, and then the loop continue, right? But later I realized that it is actually not true. You design a computer first, you define what is the output, and then you want user to use exactly the input you design. And a lot of UX, when we talk about accessibility, we're actually helping that. So actually the process is not going this way. However, when Gen AI started happen, first I want to say AI is not only Gen AI. There are many, many different kind of AI in many, many different level. So I'm referencing it as an AI system. Actually, when we really have the AI system, you can imagine there's a layer. So user give it the intent, what they want to do, maybe not so precisely. And the AI system may directly return from their AI capability, or they can combine the function to present the outcome, ideal outcome to user. It could be multimodals, it could be another agent to help you. So one of the Microsoft, so I have to use Microsoft as an example. So you can think about, for example, like this user, they are using Office or other different products. They can build their own agent or just use Microsoft Copilot on the platform they are working, and they can maybe building workflow behind it, and then they can build a lot of agents also work with that. So the most important thing is this started to be a multi-layer, multi-relationship, and it is actually really start, maybe not 100%, but really about user intent, or more clarified as a user intention. So I want to.
Let me show you how all of these capabilities I just showed can
I guess
create
he
a
can talk and I can
hyper-personalized
just
customer
rest a little
service
bit.
experience that solves real-world problems in ways that we couldn't even have imagined a year ago. Okay, so I'm going camping, and my friend sent me this picture. And I want to make sure I have the right gear for a winter camping adventure, so I started a chat. Now, notice this is something that's now routine, AI interacting with me with chat and images. But I want to... Chat's great, and we all love chat, but what if we can break out of the actual chat box and do a more personalized experience? Because it feels like, AI today, it feels like it's all just like inside of your chat box. It feels like there's a lot of co-pilots and stuff. But what if we could do a little bit more and maybe make it a little more personal, hopefully with a phone call?
Contoso Concierge.
Hello, is somebody there?
Hi, Seth. Yes, I'm here. I see you're getting ready for a winter camping trip. Can I send the concierge page to your browser to provide more details?
You certainly can. Send me to the concierge page, please.
Great.
How cool is this?
Sending you to the concierge page now.
Okay, I think this gentleman took me too much time, so I have to get it back. I apologize if you already saw this video, but I really love this video because it actually simply address, for example, you get a fuzzy input, right? Just an image, a scenario, and then you talk to the website, and the website start to work on the things. So you don't need to say, hey, let's enter exactly what location I'm looking for, filtering things. It's actually a different way of interaction. The other things I want to talk about is also, we are very familiar what is quantitative and qualitative research. Let me give an example, right? Qualitative research is, for example, like user interview. It seems to help us to understand why something goes wrong, or maybe why there's a user pain point. But also we have quantitative research, which actually, for example, right, return numbers. For example, in the website, you can know the click-through rate if someone visiting your landing page. But actually, you know what? There's actually a blind spot between it. How about 9,000 chat of a customer and advisor? How about 20,000 user review? Can you use that? And it's very interesting why that blind spot is that so important before. It's because first we are actually define and only think about quantitative or qualitative research. And moreover, we also think about, oh, qualitative research, we should do at least 5 user interview, probably can find out the problem. That is from a very long time of the research number. Does it still stand true today? Let me give you numbers. A customer care, a company maybe have a customer care call, and then they may hire company to do the QA, to do the sampling, analyze. Do you know how percentage of that sampling represent? About 3 to 5% of overall call, because there are too many calls. Do you think 3 to 5% can really represent what's happening? So in our team, actually, this is actually not the real data. I actually create this data similar to what our team analyzed about 9,000 chat. So not 9,000 sentence, 9,000 chat to combine, use LLMs to find out all this insight. So it's actually both quantitative and qualitative. You can know about what kind of product they are looking. You can know about what's happening. And you can summarize them, why they are coming here, what kind of question they are asking. And you can know about how they feel. You can know about what are the URL. You can actually use GenAI to continue and do that. Let me give you another example. We usually use user quote as evidence to see if our direction is right or wrong, right? Or even giving some design recommendation. So imagine if you have 7 user interview, each one of them are 1 hour. How many quotes will that be? So this is the things. I still feel that every designer should kind of revisit everything again. But in terms of when you are started to do the design reference of the user quote, you can actually try to think about how you can make the quantitative balance of quantitative and qualitative. The other things, interface and intercontext. Sorry, I didn't invent the word intercontext, but I actually use it here. What I want to say is that on the left side, yeah, this is a window UI. Think about that. In the SaaS development, software as a service development, each UI, what we define as features, may be linked to one-to-one relationships. So each UI actually linked to features, or several UI linked to features. But actually, in the future, not future, actually now, when we start to design this user interface, it's actually become user context. It depends on, it's going to be multi-roles, multi-modal, multi-models, and even multi-agents. So you are start to think about a relationship actually depends on the context very much. So left side is the traditional UI one-to-one. You can simply handle that by design system. On the right side, what you're looking here is that in the Copilot, for example, in the Copilot teams, you can create your own agent, and you actually wanted to generate the image. And they actually called out Microsoft Designer is another software to come in here to working on that. Actually, I didn't have time to show it today. In order for me to generate some image I want, I actually write my own agent too. So I actually use, if you're familiar with prompt engineer, I use Fuchsia training, so you can always modify the image prompt I can use to generate image. So that is actually started to be very, very different. So those are several things as my observation, as a evidence to talk about what is constant and what is change. The next one I want to talk about is about the process. Okay, let's put it all together about the process. So maybe not many people heard about minimum viable experiment. What is that? It is simplified for MVE. Most of you are familiar with MVP, I believe, but not all of you familiar with what we call MVE. But why MVE become important? So that's back to also constant and change, right? It's a true story. One of my friends' startup company, they decided they want to create their own LLM solution. So they just burn out the money by the third time they try to fine-tuning the LLMs. What is happening? As a product director, then he now need to switch it to other direction to solve the problem. The reason is because the constant is we do want to use a very quick way, just like MVP, to quickly build a prototype and test out the idea. But because of the AI, especially when AI innovation is still changing a lot, and also sometimes there are not many products as example. So sometimes you need to use a faster way to actually find the opportunities. Also experiment how this technology may align with your idea. So we're probably super familiar with, no matter you have double diamond, triple diamond, right? This is a linear process. You start from understand, define, sketch, and then design, prototype, and you do it many times, iterate. Then you get a result of MVP. So I want to bring out an interesting topic. Maybe some of you or many of you heard of continuous learning. So what is continuous learning in AI? And what is continuous learning different than machine learning model training? Let me give you an example. If you have two assistants, one of the assistants, every time you want it to do something, you need to give a complete list. And the assistant need to read everything from the beginning to the end. And there's the other assistant. For example, it's helping 10 different jobs. All you need to do is tell him, this job, you need to do it differently. The second one is continuous learning, which means that it's more real time. It is real time taking the feedback and helping your model to change. But I won't go to the detail. If you are interested, if you have Q&A, I can answer some question about that. So actually, I do something very interesting to explain what is MVE. How about let's put a diamond vertical, which means that you're going to run everything in parallel and real time. This is not only from me. If you heard like Andrew Ng's like a talk, he was talking about nowadays, startup company is not doing 1, 2 prototype. They are doing 20, 30 quickly, and then to select one. I wasn't joking. I was actually sitting in a coffee with my friend actually downstairs, like in the audience, and I was heard next to gentlemen who actually running a startup company. They'll say, oh, we just discussed with them Friday, and then we just show the prototype Monday. This is how fast the things. But how to do that is because you don't do the complete things and then analyze them and then go to the next. You use the same concept like continuous learning. You run everything parallel. So I actually provide a very quick example. It's actually simplified from the project I'm working on right now to show you how the things change. Oh, by the way, I want to recap a little bit. So running parallel doesn't mean that there's no linear, right? Again, that talk about constant and change. The constant will be, yes, we're going to iterate the product. But the change is that the product itself need to iterate. For example, just like our previous example, maybe I do the interview and shadowing. I use the LLMs to create the tasks and tools by analyze the user text, the user workflow, and the platform tools, what they use. Then I create these tasks and tools. Then I started to analyze them to see, oh, there are many different flows. So of course, in this part, I will also recommend use like job to be done, also like some other way. So it is not just like mapping linear journey like a customer journey, but actually I actually define each of the tasks, how a user is going to work and use. And then you start to build actually different flow. Why do I want to do this? So imagine a situation. If you build a chatbot for e-commerce website, the user will not just ask questions in a sequential way. They may ask, hey, I might try to find a gift for Christmas. oh, you can recommend this. That's great. How about put this in the chart? And I actually want to see what things compare with that. And maybe done all of this, I think, you know what, I actually changed my mind. So it is very hard to use traditional customer journey to mapping the relationship, because one thing is true, linear is not sequential. So you want to know there's some sequential, user may go through different stage, but you also need to understand user is not going to do the things as you only think about. So this is why we want to define this flow, and later we combine them to do the prototype. Why we want to have this? Because we want to deliver and ship the online prototyping test as fast as possible to capture how people ask questions, to capture user intent. So later we can use it to build classifier, if you're very technical, for your GenAI solution. By the way, you see this image is what I built an agent to do it. Also, this is also, I do a quick prototyping. All the car is automatically generated. So I just create different mock data and then upload and then define it, have GenAI to quickly create a product card for me. Doesn't mean that I'm lazy, because I want to run it really fast and connect and have online prototyping. And then the good thing is that then you look at this and you do the user prototyping, and then you come back to the same circle, right? Start to evaluation that, and then come back to modify your tool and task. Until you find it's okay, that's also at the same time to actually build a workflow. Workflow is actually very important. So you can think about, there's a lot of change for a digital system. Workflow, for example, in this one, you probably heard about like autonomous agent. It's basically, for example, like this one is how it works from receive the request and collect different order detail. And then, so you're going to build a lot of this kind of workflow and then also integrate them into agent. Of course, all the process, I'm not saying designer going to do it themselves. It's good to work with as a team. Like I work very closely with my data scientists and my front-end engineer, back-end engineer to work on this. So you can, so this is the illustration that you actually started to build a more precise and more workable prototype. And you also want to think about something. What is constant? What is change? We usually have the prototype, and then maybe, it's back to what we think about, what I mentioned before, right? Multi-roles, multi-models, multi-modals, and multi-agents. When you really start to do this prototyping, you can also think about different scenario. Maybe one person to one agent, maybe multiple person to one agent, maybe even one person to multiple agent. Maybe combine three of them. There are many, many things you need to think about as a scenario when you do the prototype. For example, like maybe you can use Microsoft Teams, and I can build different agent, and I can have people to working with this agent. This is very interesting because I actually try with my engineer. Like I actually have open the Teams, and as we talk, we may call the other agent coming to join our conversation, and then we call the other agent to actually analyze what we are doing. And then actually we'll get a very, very different result. So this is the end of my presentation. I hope that some of my experience I share here can help you think about how you, when you start to think about as a designer doing in this time. But finally, I want to have some summarize of all of this. I think through all this learning experience, there are two things I learned very important. First, good question is always more important than good answer, because only good question will move you forward to think about more. I think any education to any area should have a goal of this. And the second thing is that just like back to my architecture example, I think I really appreciate I start my career as an architecture designer, because in my time, I still draw everything by hand, a little floor plan, and then I still build a lot of models and use the wood and cut the things and have that. And then on the other hand, I'm actually not only a designer, I can coding, I can train machine learning model. I think both of them are very important. This is why I want to talk about constant and change. Why? Because your brain, as a human brain, need time to process things. So when you have everything of AI to do it, you lose the time to program in your brain. You don't want that. And then on the other hand, AI can actually help you discover a lot of interesting topic. For example, when I was prepare this presentation, I actually talked to ChatGPT for 1.5 hours. Sounds weird, right? I was talking about that. I was going back and forth debate with it. And then he actually bring out like continuous learning. I said, yeah, that's actually a great idea to use continuous learning to explain what is MVE. So I actually use that to that. So I think you really want to have this tool way of thinking about a lot of things you are facing. Think about, for example, as a designers, our most important job is really stand for human and then bring the user needs, bring the human side. And then on the other hand, we also want to learn the AI, how we actually create the AI can work with us. Yeah, sorry, I'm just so love the lava. It's so distraction, so cute. I think that is a great example for that. So yeah, so this is all my talk. Thank you, everyone.